This is the How'd You Do It podcast, and I'm your host, Lyle Wilkes. I believe that people have more to offer and knowledge to share than they ever give themselves credit for. So with that, my goal is to deep dive into the success stories of business owners, entrepreneurs, and community icons so they can share the road they traveled and what they learned along the way. Jimmy, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. I know we've tried to do this a couple times, but allergies this season has been kind of rough, right?
It has been.
Yeah.
It's been a rough respiratory season.
It has. So, CEO of Lowder New Homes.
President, yeah.
President, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, sorry. President of Lowder New Homes. You're a third-generation home builder. And so tell me a little bit of your backstory before we go into the now. Tell me, third generation, that just sounds really neat. So tell me the story behind that. Yeah.
Just to be. So I graduated from high school in Montgomery and went off to Auburn with the intentions of going into veterinary medicine. Had worked for a vet a little bit during summers and stuff like that growing up, and really enjoyed that and animals and the interaction with people.
Did you grow up on a farm or,
Grew up in the country a little bit. Spent about half my time or half my childhood in the country. So hunting and fishing, and so just enjoyed animals. And so went to Auburn to do that. But I pledged Sigma Alpha Epsilon, and having fun at the SA house was a heck of a lot more fun and attractive than being in the books studying to be a vet. So long story short, I gave that up, and as I finished up my career at Auburn, was working for Farmers National Bank as a teller, and really thought that that's the career I was headed towards, that I was going to be in a bank. I had no desire whatsoever to be a home builder or in the real estate development business like my father and my grandfather. They had successful careers, but that business is a lot of ups and downs. That's just guaranteed. It's very cyclical, and so I watched them have some really good years, but I watched them have some really bad years in the 80s especially, and so had no intentions of doing that. But as I got ready to graduate, my old wrestling coach from junior high school called me and said, "Hey, boy, I hear you're about to get out of college and go to work." He said, "Why don't you come go to work for me?" And I said, "Coach, I don't know anything about coaching." And he said, "I'm not coaching anymore." He said, "I'm working for Jim Wilson and Associates, developing Wind Lakes." And so I said, "Coach, I'm not getting into the real estate development business." I said, I've seen my family do that." And he said, "It's in your blood. Come on and come do it." So I said, what the heck? I was about to get married, and so needed a good job, and that was the good job that I had in front of me, and so took it and was at Wind Lakes developing it for 3 years.
Yeah, what was your role there?
So I think my title at the time was something like development coordinator. So I kind of watched over everything from the homeowners association to our builder program, and then developing new plats, new lots. So cut my teeth in the development business at Jim Wilson and Associates. Loved that family, still love that family. But they had a piece of property across the street, about 800 acres, that was going to be my first, project to start from the ground up, at least in my mind. And so one day I came in and I found out, or they told us that they had sold that property, that they were financing a mall that they were going to be building in Louisiana. And so they needed the cash, and so they sold that property to the Lowder and Aronoff family. And so I was like, well, dang, I said, well, I still got plenty of years here left at Wind Lakes. And it wasn't but a couple of weeks later that Jake Aronoff called me and said, "Hey, we'd like to talk to you about this property that we bought from the Wilsons, about developing it for us." And I said, "Sure, I'll come talk to you. I'll listen to anybody." So I did, and met with them and the Lowders, and they hired me. And so that property is Deer Creek, which a lot of people are familiar with. Yeah. So
how old were you at the time?
I was 26.
26. So, and so how many years were you at, the Jim Wilson?
3 years.
So you got into the business at 23.
I got into the business at 23.
And so you were herding cats, managing
Exactly.
managing everything at 23.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then at 26, walked the first bulldozers into Deer Creek, and I think the first year spent $21 million developing the property, and didn't sleep much.
I bet. I was about to say, do you feel like you had a lot of responsibility there?
Oh yeah, it was very overwhelming at times for sure.
Yeah. Because what was it like? Because I imagine at 26, most everyone else was older than you.
Yes, everyone was much older than me, and but that was good. I had some really good mentors, on the site construction side. Robert McGahey with W.S. Newell, and Keith and Sam Newell were kind of old family friends anyway, and so they were just great mentors and they were actually partners in Deer Creek as well.
Okay.
So learned a lot from them as far as just site development and what that looks like and what it means.
I bet there's a lot more to it than most people think. It's probably a lot more than, we can fit this many lots and the roads can go here. So
it is. And it's a lot different today than it was when I was 26. I would say when I was 26, I didn't realize it at the time, but it was pretty easy then.
Okay.
Unfortunately, government's gotten in the way.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise. A lot more regulation out there and a lot more rules to follow. And, granted, some of them are good, but a lot of them are just cumbersome and really, unfortunately, pass on a lot of expense to the end user, which is the homeowner.
Yeah, everything gets more expensive, which kind of puts us in the situation we're in now.
Exactly.
So you developed the entirety of Deer Creek. That's when you made the shift from Jim Wilson to Lowder, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I left Wilson, and that was one of the hardest decisions that I ever made, just because they were such a great family. I was really, it was a tremendous opportunity, and so they were just very gracious and said, "Hey, man, this is a great opportunity. You need to go do it. Don't be sad. Go get after it." And so I did.
That's good to have.
Yeah, the Wilson family is just an amazing family. Unfortunately, just lost Jim Wilson III here not long ago, but Will's still there and running the company, and just a great company, great people. But so I did that. Developed Deer Creek for 3 years. That was a lot of fun. Got to name some of the neighborhoods in Deer Creek after my children, and streets and that kind of thing. Yeah, so that was fun. And again, Lowder was one of the partners, and so at the time, the president of Lowder Homes, Pete Ferrier, called me one day and took me to lunch, and he said, "Hey, we need you to go to work for us." And I said, "What do you mean? I'm already working for y'all." He said, "No, I mean like exclusively for us." He said, "We're about to start a home building company down in Florida, and I need somebody to hold the steering wheel while I'm gone down there doing that." And he said, "You can still manage Deer Creek, but I need you to start helping me manage the home building company." So I left the partnership that was doing Deer Creek and went to work for Lowder Homes exclusively. Like I said, still managing Deer Creek and the development of that, but I had an employee that did that on the day-to-day for me. And so I started at Lowder Homes, and I told Pete then, I said, "Pete, I've never built a house before, so I don't know what I'm doing." He said, "It's just managing people and processes. You can do it." So.
And so that was, you said you had 3 years, so what, 29? Yeah.
29. So I was the vice president of Lowder Homes, and, that started my career in the home.
That's pretty impressive, man. 29 vice president. That's awesome. So what was the, because you went from managing the development side, and now you're managing the entire kind of the oversight of everything, right?
Yeah. So Lowder Homes is a real estate developer too, in addition to being a home builder. So had responsibilities there, doing kind of the same thing I had been doing the last 3 years, but then started diving into the actual home building process and what that means. And so managing the sales staff, managing the field staff, and then the office staff as far as just the process. It's just managing processes and people.
Yeah, and so because a lot of people don't realize you have like the real estate sales side, you have the home building side, you have the developing side. Is that all the
Right.
kind of the main three categories of a?
It is.
Yeah.
We used to have a cabinet shop and do our own cabinets, and so ran the cabinet company for a while there too. And of course, we've got a warranty department that's part of the home building side too.
Okay, awesome. So what were the challenges like moving from development of Deer Creek into overseeing the entire process?
Well, like you said, I was 29, so I was pretty young, and had a lot of more experienced and very talented people that now were starting to report to me, and so I kind of eased into that role. I didn't try to jump in and take authority and command, if you will, right off. Of course, like I said, Pete was still there. He was just in South Florida a good bit, starting that company down there. So that was really the hardest challenge, was just getting people to understand that I was there to help and to work with them and do everything I could to make their jobs easier and better. Yeah.
I kind of relate to that a little bit, only because like most of the agents within my company and things like that, everyone's older than me, and so, but I think the best I've found is like if you're truly there to help, you're truly there to serve, that kind of speeds up the process, and then everyone realizes you're on the same team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If they see that you're there to serve, and I have that attitude still today. You don't work for me, we work with each other, and I'm here to work for you if needed. So
that's it. Because people ask me what I do, I'm like, I work for a lot of agents. That's what I do. Yeah. I try to help as much as I can. So what is it? Leaders eat last.
There you go.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's a very, very true statement.
100%.
So, what year was this?
That would have been in 1999, I guess.
99, so right before the 2000s era. So
yep.
So tell me. So you managed Deer Creek. What other developments did you start in the area, and how long were you? Because have you ever ventured out of the Montgomery area?
Yeah, so we're in the river region, and now over in Auburn and Opelika, but. Started Woodland Creek here, gosh, it's been 17, 18 years ago now, and about to kick off, or we have kicked off a brand new development out in Pike Road that's going to be our biggest and best yet, called Kinsley.
I've seen it. It looks amazing. Yeah,
it is. We're about to start going vertical actually next week with
no
homes.
kidding.
Yeah, so
that's fast.
It is. It's come along pretty quickly, but. We've got several neighborhoods still active in Montgomery. We're started Stony Brook, which is in East Montgomery. We are here in Prattville in a neighborhood called Hedgefield. We are in Hampstead, Sturbridge, New Park, which is a Jim Wilson development where we just are buying lots. And then again, we're over in Auburn, Opelika as well.
Yeah, so y'all cover. How many homes do you think you've been a part of?
Oh, gosh. Well, I don't know.
Because you've been at 31 years, right?
Yeah, so Lowder 28, and I guess if we've averaged maybe 150 homes a year, so whatever that math is. So.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
That's a few, sure.
Yeah, because you've literally built communities.
We have, and that's been a lot of fun, and it's one thing that we take a lot of pride in is developing those communities that have lasting value. We don't just go pop in a little small entrance wall and throw some flowers in front of it and call it something and build 100 homes and walk away. We really feel like we're building communities that are going to have lasting value and that we can be proud of, 15, 20, 30 years later.
That's awesome. How long does it take? Walk me through the process. How do you determine where you're going to go with your next development?
Sure. So, in real estate, as everybody knows, it's location, 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 and except during the financial crisis, then it was price. But
we'll get into that a little later. I do want to talk about that. Yeah.
Good deal. Yeah. So you're looking for the right location, and that typically involves school districts. Yeah. School is very important. Medical care. Restaurants, so dining and shopping. And so if you're close to those things and or have good access to those through, good roadways and connections, that kind of thing, then you've know the general area you want to be in. So then you're just looking either for property that's for sale or going and knocking on a front door or just making cold calls.
Yeah.
Finding that dirt.
Nobody does it anymore. I built my entire business from cold calling. Not the most fun thing in the world, but yeah, you get real good at communication. Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%.
So with the, do you have a team of people that actually crunch the numbers and look at that and always are looking for opportunities within Lowder?
We do. We've got a great accounting staff. I've got a great team in place now. Part of that is our vice president of development, a young lady named Sarah Heatherly, that's actually from Auburn, and so she helps with that process as far as finding the dirt, doing the analysis of what the streets and utilities are going to cost to get there, and along obviously with the land price and that kind of thing.
Gotcha. So how long is it actually, like, are you guys constantly looking for new things to go?
We are. We're constantly looking. It's because it takes so long now.
That was going to be my next question, is how long from, like, let's say we want to open up in East Montgomery, we want to do development in East Montgomery.
Right.
Start to finish before you actually break ground. What's the average time frame with that?
18 months probably.
Really?
At least. It can be a lot longer. It really depends on getting the property entitled, and so you're meeting with adjacent neighborhoods and adjacent landowners. You're having to coordinate with the utilities. Sewer may or may not be close to the property, and so then you're working with a water and sewer board to try to figure out how to get sewer there. Typically, power, gas, that kind of thing is not a problem. Sewer is typically your biggest issue. So you got to get that worked out and again, go through the zoning and entitlement process, and that can take a long time.
Yeah, because trying to please the masses, I imagine, is pretty important. Yeah,
it is. They always want to know, are you going to hurt or help our property values? And you try to explain to people that typically new construction, especially if it's with a reputable company, it's going to help you.
Absolutely.
What we pay for concrete is typically way more than what they paid for concrete on their slab, and same with the lumber and all the component parts of the house. So it's going to be more expensive and therefore help support their values.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Yeah, and I think a lot of people have that fear of, they only remember the bad, right? So you have those companies that come in, those developers that come in that just throw houses up as quick as they can. It's an in and out. They don't care about lasting or anything like that, So it's funny. People only remember those. They don't look at the 95% of the great neighborhoods that have helped build the area up.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So you start. So it takes about 18 months to get it out, And then what's the first step?
Well, clearing and grubbing,
yeah.
Just starting to cut in your roads system, and then you're starting to put in utilities, typically stormwater system first, and then your water and sewer, and then, you're getting ready for your curb and gutter and asphalt.
Yeah. Is that where, with all the regulations you were talking about earlier, is that where it's kind of been challenging as far as like the drainage and,
It has, especially the stormwater retention, the rules and everything around it, and also just the standards that they put on that, and the utilities, and have just gotten much more stringent today than they were.
Got it. And so how do you determine what price point you're building a home?
Sure. So some of it has to do with maybe what you're building out of. So you may be building out of a neighborhood that was a certain price point that was successful for you. We also do a lot of analysis. We have companies that help us do that as well, and say, this is really a price point that's not being hit right now that you may succeed in. And so that directs it a lot of times.
Yeah. And so how fast, you said 150 homes a year, so y'all are, that's your average. That's about what you guys do every single. So what is that? That's 12. So just right over 12 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so how many crews? How many people are actually involved in the building process of it?
So we have a staff right now of about 8 builders. Okay, and then we have a vice president of field operations, Chad Seaman. So he manages all of the builders in the field, and then the rest of everything is subcontracted. So whether it's our slab guy or framer, sheetrock, what have you. All those trades they don't actually work for us.
And I imagine with the product, because I've been in your guys' home, you guys vet those pretty good. Yeah.
We do.
Yeah, because there's a big difference between different builders, and like Lowder. I know when I walk in a Lowder home because it's just a quality home, everything about it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and so, but you go into some other homes and you definitely know that it's built by somebody else.
Sure.
So yeah. So, so start to finish, with that. So you're building the homes, and it comes to the sales side. When does the actual advertisement? Because Kinsley, your new development out east. I've just now kind of seen advertising. When does that actually start? Is it right before the brown grapes, or?
Well, we typically have some type of groundbreaking ceremony, something just to get the word out there as to what we're doing. And then obviously people ride by and see the bulldozers and all the activity, and we'll typically have site signage up and directing them somewhere. And then once we get to the point, like with Kinsley where we are now, then we hit it really hard and heavy as far as advertising.
Yeah, start doing the pre-sales and things like that. Now, how the real estate sales side of the company, how many people are involved with that?
Sure. Let's see. We have some direct employees for the company that are with Lowder Home Sales, Inc., which is the name of that company, and I'm the broker for it. But we've got 6 licensed real estate agents that are in our different communities. So each one is assigned a community.
Yeah. That's awesome. I do think it's I think COVID changed a lot of things just from the sales side, but I think it's important having that on-site agent because people come in and out, someone knowledgeable, be able to explain the community, all of that fun stuff. You mentioned the housing crisis. Talk about that and talk about right before that, because I'm sure everything was booming, rolling,
Do I have to?
Yeah, man. Let's dive into it a little bit. If it's too sensitive, we won't have to go there. Yeah.
It's good. So 2006, it was just nuts. We built like 350 homes that year, and it was crazy. And just to be totally honest, that was a tough time too because we weren't able to attend to quality like we like to attend to quality, and so that was a real challenge at the time. Just managing, again, the process and the people and making sure that we had enough subcontractors and they were well vetted and could do what we needed them to do. And then in 2007, things started turning. And so then it got bad, real bad.
What was the first signs like? Because, what was what was the day? I'm sure you remember the day like things aren't good, And what did you notice?
Well, what we should have noticed was that there were a lot of people buying homes that didn't have any business buying homes. And so back then, the saying was if they could fog a mirror, they could buy a house. So it was stated income loans, and you could just walk into a mortgage company and say, hey, I make $250,000 a year. Oh, okay, we'll sign right here. We'll get you a loan. And so you could buy a home. And so that's what we should have noticed then.
Yeah.
I think when the banks started having problems and issues, and really it kind of turned on a dime. It happened so quick, and it was so deep. We had 70 plus employees at the time, and by the time 2010 came, we were down to 12. So
holy cow!
It was rough.
Yeah. Did you guys just have a lot of inventory sitting out there?
We did. We got out of the inventory fairly quickly, and then just were very, very, very slow to start any spec homes. We tried to do primarily pre-sales, and it was tough. It was real tough.
What helped you get through that period?
Well, so we are a production home builder. I still like to say that we're a production home builder, but we were definitely a production home builder in 2006. And so to really help us get through the tough times, we kind of morphed into a semi-custom builder.
Okay.
Where most production home builders, when a buyer comes in, they have very limited choices as to what they can pick from and changes that they can make to the floor plan. And so the joke kind of became if somebody came in and said, hey, can we do X, Y, and Z? And we said, if you can buy the house, we will do X, Y, and Z. And so we kind of morphed into that. And so that was great to get us through it. It's been tough to get back to more of a production home building mode.
Yeah.
And so we're a little bit in between. We certainly do custom homes. We're doing more custom homes now. We're actually up at Lake Martin as well, and that Auburn Opelika market, as I mentioned earlier. So that's more of a custom product there. And so we do custom homes, but we try to keep a bit of a production mentality about it. Just it makes it more efficient, really, for everybody, including the buyer.
Yeah, because I do feel like from the production, like the production build side of it, yes, you have limited choices. Yes, you have not as much options. However, it's not as stressful, right? You've already got because a lot of people don't understand how time-consuming and stressful it is building a home, especially if you try to be hands-on on every step.
That's right.
So
that's right. And we try to make it easy. We've got a great designer that meets with all of our customer that helps pick out, paint color, floor coverings, that kind of thing, and she does a great job in making it easier. And our sales process is a great process, and so that puts the people at ease. Our builders out in the field, they're just excellent, not only just at building homes, but dealing with people and understanding that a lot of times you got to hold their hand and explain things to them, and they do a great job.
Yeah, and I think also it's just understanding that you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars of other people's money. I mean, and when you're doing that, like, it's okay if they're a little stressed out. It's okay if you spend another 5 minutes explaining to them the process.
Absolutely. It's the biggest investment typically that they'll ever make. And so we try to make sure that everybody on the team at Lowder knows that, and they do, and they treat that people that. We're a very customer service oriented company.
Yeah, that's awesome. So out of 2008, what do you compare what we're in now to 2008 at all?
I really don't. It was so bad then. It's not great today by any stretch of the imagination with interest rates where they are and not as many people can buy. We're in a housing affordability crisis that is a crisis that's real, and I'm experiencing it right now with my oldest son, who's been in the working world for 2 years now and is in an apartment and trying to buy his first home. And so there's just not a lot of things that young people that are hardworking and doing can go afford. And so it's a crisis.
Yeah, and I don't, there's so many different things because it's interest rates, but then you have this low inventory environment too, because there's still just not enough homes out there, and also not enough of the right homes, the affordable homes. And I think, when you have sellers tied to that low interest rate, they're not going to give it up. They're not going to make that move to make their lives better. Builders, I don't think, can build a home cheap enough right now because of the cost of materials. I mean, how big would a house be if you built a $250,000 house? This is quality house.
Yeah, it's very hard. It's price of materials, labor cost, and then a lot of regulation. Again, it goes back to the government and getting in the way, and so many rules and regulations. And now the Biden administration has announced that if you get a FHA or a VA loan in order to get financing, it's got to meet the 2021 energy code. And so meeting that code is tough and expensive. The National Association of Home Builders estimates that it adds as much as $30,000 to a home.
Yeah, because when you got to have the crazy energy efficient and the insulation and everything else, it makes it more expensive.
It does. And, they even the administration now will admit that some of the payback on some of the items that they're requiring be in the home are take 90 years to pay back. So I
don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah, most people aren't going to live 90 years, and much less be in the same home for 90 years. And so some of the energy regulations are just absurd.
Yeah, well, I think somebody's winning on that, and
100%.
Yeah, it's kind of that's just, we won't call it a conspiracy theory, but somebody's making a lot of money by putting,
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So,
and it's hurting the American public.
It is, and I don't know. Where is the solution for that?
A new administration.
Yeah.
And I say that, I think that certainly would help, but we've got to be real. And again, something that takes 90 years to pay back, that doesn't make sense. And so just some common sense. If we could get some common sense with the people who make the rules, then we might have a chance of getting back.
Yeah, because I do feel like it can be done to build affordable homes. Things just have to be a lot different. You have to be able to build the product that the people are demanding, and if you're not allowed to do that, it puts the price. I mean, everyone's got to. You got tons of people on your payroll. Everyone's got to eat, so to speak.
Absolutely.
And I just, what is the most, I guess, the average price point you guys are building?
We average now almost 400,000.
Yeah.
Now, some of that is because of our higher end product, but if you take our core, we're right under 400,000 is our average price.
Yeah.
When I started, it was 225.
Yeah. When I first got started in real estate, which is 10 years ago, or not 10 years ago, but probably I think I'm year 8 or something like that. Average price point was $167,000 in Montgomery. Now we're at $244 last time I checked, which is pretty crazy.
It is.
And that's only happened in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Something. I mean, it's nuts. So, and what are you still facing any challenges through the COVID?
Not really. Most of the supply chain issues are gone, and so no, I would say we're pretty much back to normal now. There's the housing has changed from the standpoint of what people want, because you do still have a lot of people that are working from home and need that home office, pocket office kind of thing and environment. Yeah. So that's a more popular item and thing that has changed because of COVID.
Yeah. So with the floor plans and stuff like that, is it just like a 4th bedroom or an office that people are demanding, or are they just needing more square footage?
Yeah. So that was kind of the typical model pre-COVID, where people would use a 4th bedroom if they worked from home, and now people want more of a designated space. So one of the things we're incorporating into a lot of our homes, and one of the things that's in our new Kinsley neighborhood is that, which is pocket offices. So we have space for that. So it's a space that they can go in. They don't have to have a whole bedroom taken up. They've got a small area, but that's convenient to the rest of the house that they can work in. So,
yeah. Are you seeing a trend of going higher on the square footage or lower?
Well, lower because of the affordability issue. Yeah. Definitely lower.
I gotcha. And then is it still trying to change the model of the package where you're still building a quality home but getting it down to the price point that people can afford?
It is. And one of the things that we're fortunate in, that we have some really good architects that we've used over the years, and so they are able to squeeze that square footage down, but still put the items in the home that people are looking for. One of those items that is extremely popular now is space for their fur babies. Kinsley, you'll see a good bit of that, where it really will be one of the most pet-friendly neighborhoods that anybody's ever seen. Everything from the amenity package. We've got a large and small dog park. We've got a dog spa, so you can go and wash your dog in the air condition when it's hot outside, and in the heat when it's cold outside. But our homes also have pet spaces, so an area where you can either put a kennel, or it's a built-in type kennel, so that your fur baby can be close to you and keep an eye on you and you on them. So
I like it. Yeah. Are these space like in the living area, or
some of them are in the living area? Some are in the laundry or off the laundry.
Yeah.
Some are under staircases. But neat little niches.
I like that. And so, what are the other amenities at Kinsley like?
So we have a clubhouse that's planned. We'll have a separate pool house as part of the swimming pool and splash pad package, and we have a separate fitness building that we're real excited about. It'll have garage doors that open outside to a artificial turf area for yoga and outdoor exercise, that kind of thing, as well as all the standard equipment. But then we've got pickleball courts and playground. We've got an event lawn, and then just a open space playground, not playground, play field type area. It's also got a 12-acre lake that'll have walking trails all around it and through some of the wooded area and the amenity area.
That sounds nice.
It is going to be really nice.
Yeah, that's a lot. And I think a lot of people are wanting that community feel back.
100%.
Because I think during COVID we spent so much time locked up, and now like people want that outdoor space. If you notice, well, I'm noticing now, like when I go out to eat, more people are sitting outside just to be outside. More people are congregating together. Events are getting more popular. And even from like a workout standpoint, I like to go outside every now and then, and a lot of people are doing that. So I think that's really, really good. It seems like y'all really kind of cater to what people are wanting. So.
We try to. And again, this will be the biggest and best we've built so far, so we just keep improving.
How many homes?
We're approved for 1,100.
Wow.
Now we've got additional property that we can purchase. We've got some under option and then additional property that we could purchase. So I tell people, while we're approved for 1,100, really Kinsley could expand to be several thousand homes.
Yeah. That's exciting.
It is exciting.
Yeah, and I think the location of it is just great too. Like
it is.
I mean, it's just you're far enough out from everything to where you feel kind of in your own community, but you're so close to everything.
So close to everything. You're right there at the elementary school, the middle school, and now the new high school that's going to be on Wallahatchie and Pike Road, and you're also there right at the outer loop, so you can have great access to downtown or Auburn or wherever you may work. So
yeah, that's one thing I feel like so important. From a development standpoint, like or let me rephrase that. I've seen the most successful developments are always real close to the interstate because it opens up the door for so many different people, the ones that have to travel to downtown or even Auburn or whatever it may be.
Absolutely.
Because you can live in Kinsley with all of the amenities for, $400,000, $450,000, whatever it is, versus spending $1 million in Auburn and still, only be a short drive there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's exciting. So how is the developments going in Auburn?
They're doing well. We started with a development off of Hamilton Road called Summerlin. Josh Lowder, one of our owners and principals, started that neighborhood, and so we purchased lots from that entity, and it's done really well. We've had a lot of fun doing it and getting in that market. It was tough to crack in. You're the new boy on the block, and so we got a little abuse there early on, but I think our product has been well received, and so we're about to close on our next piece of property off of Shell Toomer, and we're partnering with Michael Dilworth, who's a well-respected custom home builder in Auburn, and so we're excited about that project.
Yeah, and Auburn's just everybody wants to be there.
They do. It's a great community, great college. War Eagle, by the way.
No comment. Yeah,
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
I just like to win, man. That's
there
it.
There you go. Well, we've enjoyed being in that community and the Opelika community. We have a neighborhood there called Camelot, and it's a beautiful neighborhood as well.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with Opelika, just to be transparent, but I have been to downtown there, and it's a lot of revitalization. Like it's going to be something.
It is. It's a great community, and so a lot of people that can't afford Auburn have started coming into the Opelika area, and my son may be one of those, as I mentioned earlier. But it is the downtown's fantastic, and the rest of the community's growing by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, and I think downtown areas have just like kind of been reborn after COVID. Because I think everybody moved out and everyone misses that. I don't know. I think it's just as people, we miss that connection a little bit.
Absolutely. You can't beat a vibrant downtown.
No. Get everybody going. And I think that's also, I think people, with working from remote and things like that, you don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know how much, kind of uplift you got from being around people. I'm an office guy. I don't work from home. I have to go into the office. And a lot of that, like if there's other people in there and everyone's hustling, I get energized from that. I want to work harder. I want to help them, all of that fun stuff. If I'm doing it by myself, I use the metaphor of I tried a home gym. I bought the whole thing.
Yeah.
Did it about twice, but because then you're just at home. But if I'm at the gym, like I feel almost forced to work out because other people are worked out.
Right.
Like they kind of motivate me in their own little way. And I think the community has been something that has been forgotten over the last couple of years, and I'm glad to see it coming back. So
yeah, you and me both. I will say, one of the great things that came out of COVID is I think people have a better understanding of the importance of a life-work balance. And so a lot of people can work from home, and that's good. Now, I'm like you. Even during COVID, I went into the office every day. I want to be around people, and so I enjoy that. But yeah, it energizes me as well.
Yeah. What do you mean by the work-life balance? What? Yeah, expand on that a little bit.
Well, I think everybody had to take a pause, and we had obviously the lockdown, and so everybody kind of got to really take a little bit of a breath from life and work, and just kind of pause and say, it's family's important, and working myself to death every day is not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah.
Hard work is great, but you do need to have a good life-work balance, and I think COVID kind of taught people that. It is what I see.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah, I can see it. You're forced to do something better, right?
Yep.
Right through lockdown and things. That's one thing that I'm personally trying to do a lot better on, and I have here over the past couple months, is shut it down at like 6, shut it down at 7, like shut it down, like,
Yep.
Because burnout's a real thing.
It is.
And then you can, and I also, now that, I'm young, I'm 31, but at the same time, like I'm finally starting to value rest, because I can't run for 12, 15 hours a day. Absolutely. And do the same thing, because you're not as sharp, right? You're not as, you're not in the great mood, so.
100%. And I can tell you at 54, I feel that way much more. So.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you do for fun, man?
A lot of family time. Our family's very close. I've got 3 children, and while they're all young adults now, so my youngest Princess, she will be 21 in October.
Okay.
My middle child just graduated from Auburn. He's 23, and then my oldest, as I mentioned, he's out in the working world 2 years now, and he's married and 25. So love spending time with them. I'm also a big cook. I love to cook.
Okay.
Cook almost every night.
Yeah.
And so love creating new things and following recipes and breaking recipes and getting outside the box. My wife also loves to cook. We've been married 31 years now, and so we have a lot of fun in the kitchen.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's probably like I just got married this year, and thank you, and we spend a lot of time cooking together, and that's kind of like the catch up after the day, that's what keeps us close,
Absolutely.
So tell me about, like, do you grill a lot, or is it like more like, are we fighting like Michelin star meals? What are we talking about, Jimmy? Yeah.
So not a lot of grilling, some grilling, still enjoy that, but no, most of my grilling was done, I guess, in my early 20s when that was just fun to fire up the grill and pop a cold one and grill out and sit on the patio. No, most of it's in the kitchen now. So a lot of sauteing and just, again, love to be creative, love to follow recipes.
Yeah. Have you always had that creative side to you?
From the cooking standpoint, I have. So my father loved to cook and was a really good cook, and my grandmother, she was both of them were fabulous cooks, and so I just grew up around it and grew up in a household where Dad did a lot of the cooking. My mom obviously did a lot of cooking too, and she was very good, but just learned it from him, and now my sons actually love to cook as well. So
yeah, I've always liked to cook, and as soon as I moved, I was just like, we're gonna try. And when I was broke, I made some amazing ramen noodle dishes. I went through like this 2-month period. I had a motorcycle wreck, so it caught me out of work. I spent 9 days in the hospital, all that fun stuff. But yeah, coming out of that, I was stubborn, wouldn't take help. So it was me and my dog, and we ate ramen noodles and eggs for 2 months. And I've had them every single way you can have them. Yeah. But I think that's kind of what propelled me. Like, I can make nothing taste pretty good.
Yeah.
So, but with your creative side, like. You don't think that played a part in like the development and like being creative, like on how things played out?
I had never really looked at it that way, but I probably so. I mean, I really enjoy helping to lay out a community and looking at what a streetscape looks like, and same with floor plans, house plans. I love trying to be creative and figure out and working with the architects. Okay, how do we get all of the things we want in this square footage that we think is going to be appropriate? So
yeah. I just, most people that I've met that are very successful in like the leadership and the role, they're always, they have some type of creative side with them. Because I think the creative side also brings perception, instead of just being stuck in one way. So not surprised at all you like to cook and get creative in the kitchen.
Well, I've never looked at it that way, but
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. So so you like to cook a lot, do you travel at all?
We do love to travel and see new places. Love to hunt and fish. And the whole family enjoys that. My wife likes to hunt and fish. My daughter likes to hunt and fish, and my boys. And so that's something else we do a lot of together.
Gotcha. So you're third generation home. So what made you not want to get into that? Yeah,
just the ups and downs and how cyclical it is. I tell a story that I remember one time when I was I was probably 8 or 10 at the time, and my dad drove up in the driveway, and I think he was in a brand spanking new truck. He had a shiny trailer behind him with 2 shiny 4-wheelers for the hunting property, and my brother and I were so excited we were just beside ourselves, but I think by the end of the hunting season, Dad had sold the truck, sold the 4-wheeler, sold everything because business had turned bad. And so that was something that stood out in my mind where I just wasn't sure that I wanted to get into a business that was as cyclical as it was. Obviously, I've learned now you just have to prepare for those times. You have to be diligent, and that was hard to do in 2006 because you didn't think it was ever going to end. So I shied away from it, and so I just wanted something stable. But I'm certainly glad I got into the business and that the Lowder family gave me that opportunity.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's more predictable than you thought? Or is it still just as cyclical as you thought from your experience?
Well, it's predictably cyclical.
Okay.
So, again, you just have to know when to pull your horns in and when to be conservative, and then when you can take some more risk, and just watch for the signs.
Yeah. What are the big signs you watch for in the housing industry? Like what do you really, really look at?
Well, interest rates and the economy in general, you just have to keep a real tab on that, and that's extremely hard to do. I mean, even the best economists in the world, only get it right every once in a while. But you have to take good advice. You have to be efficient every day in everything that you do, trying to and be conservative, but yet again knowing when you can take a risk.
Where do you think we're at right now?
In what respect?
In an economy and a housing standpoint, like we know we're in an affordability crisis right now, right? But where do you think we're going from here? What's our trajectory? Because some people are saying housing crash is coming, the economy is going to tank. Other people are saying, no, things are about to get great. And then, kind of my opinion is we're almost at like the new bottom in a way. We're going to be very stagnant. But what's your take?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think we probably are at a bottom or nearing a bottom. The Fed was so slow to react to how things were heating up and inflation, and just kept kind of ignoring it. I think they're doing a little bit of the same now. I think things are slower than what they see from my perspective, and so they're probably going to be a little slow to react as far as rates are concerned as well. But I see the next 5 years after we get through this being some really good times for our industry as a whole.
Yeah, we just got to get out of this one little hurdle.
Get out of it. That's right.
Because a lot of people don't. I was looking at our local. I'm a big numbers guy. I was looking at the numbers last year. We had just under or just about the same number of closings we did in 2010 and 11. So when you look at it from like a closed transaction standpoint, the last housing crash, that's the volume we did. Okay. Now, a lot of that's because of inventory, right? Not enough homes to sell. But the biggest thing is that a lot of people just weren't selling and weren't buying.
Right.
Because, people weren't buying because of interest rates. People weren't selling because of interest rates.
Yep.
I remember when they shot interest rates up. What was that, end of 22, 20? I don't know. Or 20. I can't remember. Anyway, last year or last couple of years. And everyone was saying, like, it's going to ruin buyer demand. I'm like, no one's going to sell their house anymore,
That's the problem. Yeah. That's the problem. If you've got a 3.5% mortgage, the idea of trading that to 7% plus the extra expense that you've got with the prices today.
Yeah.
It's just like, nope, I'm going to sit right where I am.
Yeah, which I do feel like, too, that real estate in Alabama has been undervalued for a very long time.
Very long time. I see it all the time.
Yeah, like and there's a couple people that were coming in, that realized that. Like there were some like hedge fund buyers coming in, buying up some, because on paper it was unbelievable compared to other markets as far as cash on cash return, all of that fun stuff. But just from a general standpoint, like Alabama's always been the cheapest cost of living. It's always been cheap to buy property here, all of that fun stuff, and you can get a lot of bang for your buck for it. And, and even compared to other markets and what Alabama has to offer, it was crazy undervalued. It
is. Yeah, we see it all the time. I love sitting across the table from buyers at closing and finding out where they're coming from and why they're here. And it's, we're seeing people moving because of politics, moving from California to Alabama because they're tired of the liberal politics out there. We're seeing people moved from bigger cities up north that they like the climate, they like the people, and the affordability of it. We're sitting here complaining and saying there's an affordability crisis, but that's for us. But folks moving from other parts of the country, it's a great value.
Oh yeah, because those homes in Kinsley that you're building, those are $2 million homes, $2.5 million homes in some other markets, all day, every day.
All day, every day.
And I also think it's important to most people don't compare anything unless, like 4 or 5 years ago. And so we've been used to this environment where everything's been appreciating and all of that fun stuff. We're kind of back to a normal market to some extent. We have an inventory problem. We have an affordability problem for sure.
Right.
But when I first got into the business, average days on market was 180 days. Average days on market right now in Montgomery area is 51 from the sign to the closing.
Wow.
And so when you look at it like that, no, things are still rolling. It's just not the volume I think we're used to, and it's not as easy. Things just aren't easy right now.
No, they're not.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I do think it's interesting to see where things will go from here. But I don't think there's anything to be crazy fearful of. We just aren't. We don't have it as good as we did in 2020 or 2021.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think there is a big shoe to drop unless it's something internationally.
A black swan event.
Exactly.
I can't, because everyone I talk to, and that's what I tell them, I said, because even going back to the 2008 crisis, the real issue there was an oversupply issue. That was, how we got there. That's not what I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, it's supply and demand. And, we just had a huge influx of supply and no demand for homes. And right now we couldn't, I think you could triple your home building, and I don't think you could meet the current demand right now.
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pent-up demand out there. But, again, it's getting that person out of their 3% mortgage to go to a 7%. So I'm sure you're familiar with the saying that is popular now, date the rate and marry the house.
Sure,
so that's what we try to tell people. Because I do think I don't know that we'll see 3% again, but I definitely think we'll see in the fives.
High fives, yeah. And I think, if we could get – I think the floodgates would open up if you put a 5 in front of it. I think we'd be right back to 2020, the pandemic times.
I agree completely with you. It's amazing how you can watch as the rates this time last year started ticking up from the low 6 area up to when it hit 7, it was like you just turned the valve off.
Yep, you turned the water off.
Yep. And then as soon as it dipped back down, the valve opened back up, and traffic was crazy. And then as soon as it went
the beginning of this year,
yep.
We from a company standpoint, we tripled our number of closings in January because the interest rates were lower then. And then when they ticked them back up, everybody, and that's the thing. It's a lot of people don't realize they go off what the media is saying. So if the media screams interest rates are lower, they don't look at what they actually are or what they were. They just know it's lower and they feel better. Like the biggest thing I pay attention to is consumer confidence to know where we're going.
Yep, 100%.
Because it doesn't matter what the facts are. It doesn't matter what the numbers say. It's how people feel. And right now people don't feel real good. But I think the numbers, and I think we're fine, I can't find anything that is just, I don't know, just that just stands out of like, this is a bad thing.
I agree with you. No, I agree with you. We the rates definitely hurt people's feelings and their confidence.
Yeah, I'm kind of one of those people. I've got I think a low 5 on the house I'm in right now. Trust me, I want to move, but it just doesn't make sense right now. So I feel the pain of other people.
Absolutely.
And people are going back to a more normal market as far as they only move because they have to, because moving's not fun. And during the pandemic, people moved because they wanted to, and they could make a bunch of money, and it didn't cost them anything to purchase a new home and all of that fun stuff. And that's never what a housing market is supposed to be.
That's right.
So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for the future, and I think that with the challenges that are coming right now, I think the top tier of the industry they will do fine, and I think it will weed out some of the ones that have kind of come in over during the easy times.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah, so because do you see have you seen a lot of home builders come into the market?
Well, a lot of the national guys have come in, and so that's been different. Another thing in our industry locally that's been different is the small builders are not around like they used to be, and that's really because the developers aren't around. So go back to my days at Win Lakes, and so Jim Wilson was the developer of Win Lakes, and would offer lots. They didn't have they're a home building company, so they weren't feeding themselves. They were feeding lots into the market. And so when I started there, we probably had 15 builders that were approved and could be built in Win Lakes. I think if you did the same thing today, you might not be able to find 5, just because they've gone out of business. Because developers, you're not making the returns that you need on developing lots anymore and just selling them to builders. And so we're a developer to feed the beast, to feed our own animal. And so the small pickup truck builders, we call it, just aren't around like they used to be, unfortunately.
No. And a lot of people didn't make it through a lot of people don't realize it wasn't that long ago.
No.
We're talking coming out of it 10 years ago, starting to come on the other side of it. And a lot of people didn't make it because I think it was like a third of the home builders still stayed in and after that. So 77% of an industry left. And people remember when they got burned.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with the home builders and things like that, with the small mom and pops, right? There's just not enough margin for them to be there.
It is. It's very, very tight. Again, a lot of it just goes back to regulations. And so there I would put in a plug for the Home Builders Association, both the State Home Builders Association and your local association. They are the ones out on the front lines fighting against that regulation and pushing back. And so I mentioned earlier the energy code requirements, and so that's one thing that the National Association of Home Builders is working real hard on, is pushing back on that. It's the Home Builders Association is a great place to be and an association to be part of.
Yeah, and a lot of people discount that. Going back to the community and things like that. There's a lot of builders that want to, they don't need anybody, but you do. Rising tide brings in all the ships. It's much easier to move as a group than as an individual.
Absolutely. Same with the Realtors Association. They're great organizations, and if you're in the business, you need to be part of that for the community standpoint, but also just to help and support the industry.
Yeah, and we're going through some changes too.
Absolutely.
Coming up pretty soon. Yeah, which it's not nearly as bad as what the headlines are making it out to be. It's a lot of the same way with the economy and everything else. It's the news.
Bad news sells.
Yes, absolutely. If a news article came out and said everything's perfect, and you should go outside because it's rainbows and sunshine and unicorns, no one would listen to it. No, negativity always sells.
It does.
Yeah. Well, we'll wrap it up there, man. I've appreciated it, but before we go, I got some more questions for you.
All right.
Yeah. Let me get my little list out here. What's your favorite book? Do you read?
You know, I'm ashamed to say that I don't read a lot.
Okay.
I just don't have a lot of time to read, so my favorite book's the Bible.
Gotcha. Well, you said you listen to a lot of podcasts, or not a lot of but religious church podcasts, things like
or
that.
just services if we don't catch them. So we live here in Montgomery and or have been members of Trinity Presbyterian Church for a long, long time. But when my kids started going to Auburn and looking for a church over there, they joined Auburn Community Church. And so Miles Fidel is a great guy. Actually ended up building my house.
Hey, that worked out.
Yeah, it worked out well. But so listen to them quite a bit to their podcast or their sermons.
Gotcha. If you could have dinner with anyone, past, present, or future, who would it be?
Oh, wow. You know, gosh, that is a tough question because it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, my dad died unexpectedly when he was 59, and so he didn't really get to see where I am today and didn't get to see his grandchildren. And so, you know, I'd love to do that.
I think that's a great answer. Yeah, that's awesome. I know you like to cook a lot, but what's your favorite food?
As far as actual recipe or just type or what?
No. What if you could last meal? We'll change the question up a little bit. Last meal, what would it be?
Oh, definitely salmon.
Salmon?
Oh yeah.
How would you cook it?
Just pan saute it.
Really? Okay.
Blackened. But yeah, I eat salmon. It's gonna sound crazy, but probably 5 times a week. Love it.
Yeah. We were my wife were in Canada and the Lox bagel. Because the salmon and then again, I got married in January of this year, and but we vacationed in Kauai and all the fresh seafood, and so God, it was our honeymoon Kauai, not vacationed, but the salmon up in Canada was unbelievable. Yeah, you know,
I love it.
Yep. So we got how you did it, but what is your why, and how has it changed from when you started?
What is my why? Well, obviously, like I said, when I got out of school, I was getting married, and so had to figure out how to support my bride. She was actually out already. She graduated on time. I took a victory lap. So, so really to support my family. And now that I've, in the latter part of my career, my why is just watching some of the younger people that are on our team develop and grow and support their families. And so that's one reason I still get up and work as hard as I do. Yeah,
giving back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, man, we'll wrap it up there. I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And I know you'll continue to build some great communities out there.
Well, I hope you'll sell them for us.
I'll do my best, man.
All right. Thank you, Lyle.
See you.